Let's talk Jelly Roll and his divorce. Jelly Roll just went through a divorce after an almost 10-year marriage, and it might be the cleanest celebrity divorce I have ever seen. Jelly Roll and Bunny XO got married back in 2016, before the fame. When they met, he was selling mixtapes out of his car, and by the time the marriage ended, he was one of the biggest names in country music. Sold out arenas, awards, massive catalog of music, which matters because almost every dollar of it, every piece of this empire, was built during their marriage. They separated on May 9th of this year. 9 days later, Jelly Roll filed for divorce in Nashville, citing irreconcilable differences. And both of them went out of their way to keep it respectful. No cheating allegations. His exact words were, nobody cheated on nobody, and that he and Bunny will always be best friends. Here's the part that should get your attention. The divorce was finalized on July 17th. That's roughly 60 days from filing to completion. He reportedly paid her a one-time lump sum in a confidential amount and no ongoing alimony. Now, the twist in this one is they are now divorced, but they are still expecting a baby together. They've been going through IVF for years. They have lost 4 embryos along the way, and Bunny says the plan is still on to have a child. 2 divorced people planning on bringing a child into the world on purpose as co-parents. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's get into it. No prenup, big assets. These 2 are dividing a fortune built mid-marriage. Everything Jelly Roll has earned and built during this marriage, well, if they were here in the state of California, it would be community property. His catalog of music, his record deals, his touring money, all of that stuff. No prenup existed. These 2 didn't have anything when they got married. Now, why do you see that there was a huge lump sum payment? Well, probably the most complicated part of this divorce would have been Jelly Roll's intellectual property. It was created, it was work product during the marriage, and in California is a community property state, which this was in Tennessee, but when you have a situation like this, royalties from streams, the brand itself, publishing, all of this stuff is community property and must be divided. And so usually the cleanest way this happens is there is a large payment to essentially allow one party or the other to take that IP. I was involved in a divorce case where there was a very large piece of IP that was growing in value very, very rapidly. The couple had really nothing, and I won't go into the specifics of what the IP was because everyone would recognize it. But this very, very large piece was in the process of being sold but hadn't been sold yet. And so we had to go in and put a value on this piece of IP because it was something that was created during the marriage. That's something that's really, really challenging. There's not a whole lot of case law, there's not a whole lot of examples, but I think we're gonna see more and more of this with the creator economy and brands created and monetized on social media, and not just with major recording artists. So it's an interesting and novel issue, but it can get extremely complicated. And I really think the only way to cleanly do this is for one to make a large payment to essentially take control of the IP on their own. Jelly Roll allegedly paid a confidential lump sum instead of monthly alimony payments. Is a buyout often a smarter play? I see this play out a lot with long-term marriages. If we can limit exposure into the future financially, it makes a whole lot of sense. So if you have that liquidity, it makes sense to not put debts in the future, have a clean break, and quite frankly, they say there's a confidential lump sum for monthly alimony payments. There was probably a lot more than alimony built into this lump sum payment. Anytime you start talking numbers at this level, you're gonna get it to be confidential. And I really like this. Clean break, no monthly resentment, no modification fights later, and no tie to his future earnings. Bunny XO has come out and said they still plan on having this child. They've been trying for years, they've tried everything, and they said in their statement they were still gonna be best friends. So what does this mean legally? Legally, they are now divorced. So if this was in the state of California, Jelly Roll would not be presumed to be the father. He would have to sign the voluntary declaration of paternity or go establish paternity in court. It's now a child being born to unmarried parents. I've seen this play out in a really ironic way, kind of in a different light. I represented a client who, him and his wife had a divorce that it lasted about 2 years. About halfway through the divorce, his wife lets him know she's pregnant from her new boyfriend. Now the crazy part about that is, if this child would have been born before the divorce was finalized, the child would have been presumed to still be his. Jelly Roll, it's going to be the opposite. He's not going to be presumed to be the father, and so he's going to have to go through the same process that any unmarried father would to be found as the father of this child. What are the rights step parents have after a divorce? Jelly Roll does have other children, and Bunny has been an active part of their life. The short answer for this is step parents have almost no rights by default. They have no rights to custody, no rights to visitation. So absent an adoption, the unfortunate part for a lot of step parents is they lose that relationship with the child. What about this divorce should every husband take note of? 60 days, no public fight, no nasty publicity, everything confidential. These two had one of the cleanest divorces that you can possibly have, at least publicly. And the fact that they did it in about 2 months says that even privately it was pretty clean. The biggest challenge with any divorce or any family court matter is the fight that seems to drag on forever, and it's nonstop. And these two avoided that, kept it cordial, decided to co-parent, and moving forward, I think this is what's going to be best for their family, and a lot of families would benefit from seeing how this played out. Let's talk about this non-disparagement clause by these parties. And should this be a regular part of a marital settlement agreement? A lot of times in these celebrity divorces, it becomes a big part of this. We have a non-disclosure and a non-disparagement, but the reality of the situation is that divorces, when we get to the settlement phase, would benefit from a very clear non-disparagement clause because it benefits no one to continue to put down the other parent. So in conclusion here, what did the Jelly Roll and Bunny XO divorce teach us, or what should we learn from it? Number one is the fastest, cheapest, and most effective way to get divorced is to work it out between yourselves and not publicly. Most people don't have the types of platforms these two do, but we see this in everyday divorces. You want to talk poorly to your friends and your family about the other spouse. That benefits nobody. And I think the people who take advantage of that and move their divorce quickly and efficiently and don't fight over petty things ultimately have happier next chapters of their life. I'm Mark Real Jr., the Father's Rights Attorney, and we'll see you guys again next time.